Pizza presents STP. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Adam Wilde.
Steve, Jesse, and I want to say something before we start the show.
I have no part of this.
We have agreed.
Okay.
And we've kind of pulled the rug out from under you and pulled rank, and we are designing today's show.
Pulled rank?
Yeah. As in...
Am I not the general? It's my show!
Well...
My name! You always tell me, Steve, it's got your name on it.
It's got your name on it.
You can't pull rank on a general.
I'm pulling rank. I'm calling an audible. And in 20 minutes, we're going to have our first of two guests on the show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it'll be on the phone. Actually, Jesse, I'm going to give you the phone. So that way you can see it.
I don't think it reaches that far, Adam.
It does. It does.
You are going to break Roger's equipment. I am going to phone your boss so that this doesn't happen.
All right, you get it. All right.
What is happening?
Well, because it's important that it's important that I let you know that the guest, one of two guests that we have booked, Jesse and I, is coming in 20 minutes.
Like in studio?
No, that's why I gave him the phone, is that they're calling. They're calling.
I assume, I don't know, there's multiple guests.
No,
maybe one's in studio, maybe one's on the phone.
Listen,
I don't know what's coming, Adam.
I get it. But it's important that you know that that's happening. So first things first, we have two guests. One of them is Andrew Berkshire.
Hey, that's neat.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens a little bit with him.
That's good. You know what? That's good. That's actually very timely because I have questions.
I have questions too, and I thought, what the heck? Good. The other one will remain nameless for now.
Okay. I have a theory.
S.
L. Okay, there it is.
Let's talk about the Leafs in Philly, shall we?
Let's do it.
Leafs in Philly. What an exercise in frustration that game was.
Everyone told me I missed a good one. It's my first game I've missed this season.
You know what? It
was a good game to miss.
Good game to miss.
Yes.
Because it was one of those games where you're so mad at what you're seeing, especially in the third period, that you play something on your computer because you can't handle it. So let me tell you that basically through the first two, it was pretty even, right? It was
two tired teams.
Yeah, a lot more giveaways and a lot more sloppy play. The passes weren't crisp, that sort of thing.
You know, when you're going on vacation and then it's the Friday before vacation, it felt like everybody was already on vacation.
The problem with that is the Leafs and Flyers are super tight in the standings to the point where because the Flyers won,
they leapfrog the
Leafs.
And the other thing, which is a little bit frustrating, is that the
Boston
Leafs
has played 75 games. Oh, something else?
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
sorry.
The Leafs were, I think, 2 minutes and 37 seconds away from a point, at least.
Yes.
And in the third period, just stop playing. And I think it probably was the worst period of hockey, and I think I've missed 4 or 5 games max. I think it's the worst period of hockey the Leafs have played this season.
Wow!
Give you an idea. So first off,
I'll have to take your word for it.
First off,
there is some competition though,
and there is some competition. This might be the worst because, well, maybe all the giveaways were bad, but what frustrated me was that they didn't play anything that looked like the type of hockey that they played all season, and I think that's why I would characterize it as the worst. It's not that they gave away leads or whatever. This is a team that is gelled. This is a team that clearly has it, whatever it is.
Yes,
and for whatever reason, just couldn't make it happen. The first thing is, say what you want about the fourth line. Crazy stat that I got from a friend this morning named James Myrtle was that
their possession was ridiculous.
90%, or near 90%.
It was like 85.
85.
Meanwhile, they were on the ice for the game-winning goal, and it was a fire drill. Mm-hmm. It was an absolute fire drill.
Well, I mean, if you look at the way that that goal happened, it was literally all three forwards racing for the point man. Like, it was ridiculous.
There were 3 Flyers in tight and 5 Leafs. 2 of them were doing nothing.
The other problem
covered nothing.
The other problem is Frederick Gauthier won 27% of his faceoffs.
What stats are? Weird.
So he lost.
Stats are weird in hockey.
Lost 73%. How did they do
so well possession-wise? But he couldn't.
Changing on the fly, probably.
Leafs possession by period last night. 59% in the first.
Great.
57 in the second.
Also good.
26 in the third.
Jesus Murphy.
That's what I mean. Bad period.
Wow.
And even the eye test, before I saw the numbers, you knew. boy.
Did someone get hurt?
No.
They just stunk, eh?
No, Leo looked like he took got a nasty bruise, but other than that, it wasn't really
They
that
were tired.
Yeah. Well, and so
Missing Riley.
here's what's interesting. At one point during the game, Radko Gudas kicks a puck in his own end. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay. Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay,
and I watched all the highlights.
So I'm gonna tell you what happened. All right. So Radko Gudas kicks the puck. The puck goes out into the stands. What do you think happens?
I mean, that should be a penalty. Wow, that's impressive. How did he do that?
Well, bouncing puck.
Oh, it was bouncing?
And he kicked it, and it went out.
I don't know what the rule is there. I'm going to go with they didn't give him a penalty.
And they didn't. But if it was his stick, and he had just knocked it with his stick, that's a penalty. You want to tell me how that's not delay of game?
I think it proves a flaw in the rule. I'm actually kind of glad that's not a penalty.
It's because a kick isn't a shot, so a shot over the glass can't come from a kick.
Like if a goalie, if someone shoots the puck high and a goalie deflects it out with his glove, that's fine.
Right.
You can do that, and it can be fully intentional, but it doesn't count. Excuse me. What they said on the broadcast the other day was, flipping the puck out used to be get me out of trouble. But this seems like, based on your description, a fully accidental thing. And I would like to see stuff that looks like you have all reason to believe it was an accident. That shouldn't be delay a game. I kind of hate the rule.
I feel like if it's, to me, it's, you can't judge intention. You either, it's black or it's white. So if a guy making a motion with his hands or his feet generates enough energy and force for a puck to leave the ice and go into the stands each and every time, it should be a penalty. It's either one or it's the other.
I go back to the goalie thing, though. Like, how do you know the goalie did it on purpose? What's he supposed to do, not make the save?
Well, then how do you judge whether the kick is on purpose?
It's a great question.
So that's what I mean.
So the rule is it's easier when it's a stick.
Well, it's stupid.
It's just easier
You know what I think?
to judge.
It's stupid. That's stupid.
Oh, there's lots
it's all
of stupid.
It's really stupid.
Welcome.
It made me mad. Made me very mad.
The NHL, we're stupid.
I know. Okay, so the other things, let's not judge too far on that. But
By the way, sorry to cut you off before you do that. Did I hear right that they're taking away the breakaway challenge from the All-Star game?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yes, they're doing doing a shoot from the blue line, shoot from the red line, shoot from the alternate blue line.
Come on.
I know.
So
I know.
Just so I have this correct, they have taken away the breakaway challenge from the All-Star game, but they have not taken the breakaway challenge away from regular season NHL games. Deciding huge points in the standings. Are you serious? Apparently, yes.
Nick Kyprios was on Breakfast Television on Monday, and he's like, I felt bad for those guys. He's like, from the player perspective, he's like, I would have hated it because the breakaway challenge is a lot of work. And like, he's like, how do you keep it fresh every year? It's like supposed to be our slam dunk competition, but there's only so many things you can do. And they
use NHL goalies. Stop that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have a contest.
Pros versus Joes.
Thousands of applicants. Get someone who's going to try so hard, tear every fiber of their groin, but make them sign some crazy waiver. And I want to see Alex Ovechkin school someone's fourth grade teacher.
Or Joe from Burlington rob Alex Ovechkin.
How sick would that be?
Make the fans involved.
That'd be
great.
unreal. Then you can get a little less creative. Because now you're schooling a mere mortal.
Wayne Simmons, of course, scored, played out of his mind. He's having a great season.
The Wayne train just always murders the Leafs.
He's
always
so good.
Murders the Leafs.
So good.
The new Keith Primo.
It kind of shows
There's always got to be some flyer who kills the Leafs.
Kind of shows you why Simmons not only is an all-star, but does so well in the playoffs. He knows he can elevate his game. He just has that switch that goes, yep, now is time to play. Not that he doesn't always play great, but he also can elevate it to play even greater.
So in my LFR video that is obviously not up yet, I brought up last episode we were talking about how great Nazem Kadri's contract is. It might end up being one of the best in the league. It certainly looks really good this year. Wayne Simmons? Because I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, someone's going to make him a very rich man when he becomes a free agent. But when's that going to be? Well, he signed this season, obviously, next season, and the season after that at $3,975.
Wow.
He doesn't make $4 million. And he's in his prime. He's going to score 30 goals this year. He scored 30 goals last year. He hit, I think, 29 the year before 28 the year before and 29 the year before that. And this will be his 5th season and 4th consecutive where he has at least 28 goals. For less than $4 million! That's a great deal. That is a fan-damn-tastic deal. Good for the Flyers, man. Good for the Flyers.
And good for the Kings. I mean, look at what they ended up with. Oh.
What did they end up with? Oh, right. You know what they ended up with? 2 cups.
Yeah, you're right.
It's one of those things
enough.
where, like,
Okay. All right, we'll
I
give
look
them
at
that.
the Bruins and I go, that Caberlet trade was terrible, and they won, so who cares?
Curtis McElhinney was great. He
Yeah,
really was.
He looked like, a little out of position on the winner, but if the Leafs were as bad as you described, and they only lost 2-1, I mean, if your goalie allows 2 goals or less,
You should be able to win the game.
they did their job.
That's
they gave
how-
you a chance to win.
That's how as bad they were.
Oh,
in the,
man, they were
third
that
period.
as bad?
They were that as bad.
Oh, no.
One thing I wanted to mention, and he hasn't played out of his mind, so take this with a bit of a grain of salt, but doesn't Michael Neuwirth, every time you see him play, remind you of the type of guy who can step in and play 30, 35 games and potentially, relieve a goaltender who might be struggling? Buffalo. Maybe trading him at the deadline 2 years ago was it? I'm gonna harp on this.
Oh, yeah,
this
I
is
know.
my hill.
Oh,
This
I
is
know.
my hill, and I'm dying on
It's
it.
a great hill. It's a great hill. Question from Steve D. Why hasn't he been playing that much this season?
Well, I don't
Was
think
he
either
hurt?
of the goalies have been great. He might be, but
What are his stats? Because when I saw the Leafs got him,
Jesse's looking.
I
up
assume
right
the
now.
reason Mason has been playing all these games this season and poorly is because Neuwirth, whatever the hell,
I think they're
was
not
out.
From what I understand, they haven't been impressed with either. And I obviously don't know the Philadelphia Flyers as well as I know the Leafs, but from what I understand, neither has been amazing.
Well, because Mason's been bad.
So Steve Mason at 36 games started, he has a .902 save percentage.
Wow,
Paul Maurice wouldn't take that.
Neuwirth,
he might.
12 games started, he has an .885.
Ooh,
So he's been worse.
But I got to assume he's been hurt to only play 12 games.
Yeah.
Even though
that
he's bad.
That seems like a platoon thing. Like they'd split that. Although I don't think they're getting paid like that. I don't think Mason and Neuwirth are making the same amount of money.
I don't think either of them make as much as Freddie does, though.
No, definitely not.
Gosh.
Yeah. Anyway, he looked like Michael Neuwirth, the Michael Neuwirth we kind of know last night. He looked pretty good. Looked strong. Good positioning. Anyway,
I was hoping for a McElhinney-Steve Mason matchup, and I was like, take the over. And sure enough, 2-1.
The cap situation is 4.1 for Mason and 1.62 for Neuwirth.
That's fine. Now, how long are those contracts?
They are both expiring at the end of this year.
that'll be interesting.
Very interesting.
The Flyers have got to be biding their time because there is a lot of free goaltending floating around out there. They can't be all that expensive for them. And it means that they don't have to protect a goalie in the expansion draft unless there is a player in their minor league system that they really want to hang on to. But I haven't heard of any great
No one I can
goaltending coming
think
out of there.
And I don't think they have Carter Hart signed.
They'll probably have to protect one of them just under the rules, and then they won't be able to sign before the draft. I think it would be.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, what about Ben Bishop?
To the Flyers?
Why not?
Well, I mean, and I want to get to the other Tampa Bay deal.
That's right.
That was, discussed. But I don't want to get to it yet. We'll wait for Berkshire on that one. I think that makes sense. It just goes, what does Philadelphia give them back? And do you want to trade Ben Bishop to a team that you might end up playing in the playoffs? And you might end up playing in the first 2 rounds, in fact, if you
So this
Tampa Bay
trade
make it.
won't happen for a while, if it happens. It needs to be right at the deadline,
And Tampa has to be
needs
out.
to be sure they're out of it. Which I still think,
They're in it.
I look at the standings even when the Leafs are out, and I go, don't worry, Boston. But what keeps me up at night is, what if Boston recovers? Mm-hmm. And what if Tampa recovers? Mm-hmm. Not stoked.
Elliot Friedman wrote, I wonder if a Kevin Shattenkirk / Ben Bishop deal would make sense.
Me too.
That's a good deal. Might take that deal. Because the Blues, this may not be their year, but you got to think if you're the Blues, you kind of have to go for it, right? I mean, like this year, you're pretty loaded.
Yeah, at some point, and I mean, we don't have much experience with this as Leafs fans, but at some point, you are at a certain point with your franchise where people are all entering their prime, in their prime, or leaving their prime.
Yeah, like you just lost Backus.
Yeah, and you got to do it. You got to do it. And what's their Achilles heel?
Goaltending.
No one can stop a puck.
No.
All right. Bishop might make sense.
Otherwise, you risk being Canucked.
If Bishop is Ben Bishop.
Yes, and he hasn't been. He was terrible when I saw him in Tampa.
Now, I wonder if he was battling an injury, and now he is definitely injured. So here's a question. Who the hell, outside of those monsters in the Metro, could you see winning a cup?
Outside of Washington, Pittsburgh?
And hey, throw Columbus in there.
Yeah, I got to throw Columbus in there.
It feels weird to do it, but what are the top 5 teams in the league, Jesse?
The overall league?
Yeah.
We have Washington, Minnesota, Columbus, Pittsburgh, and then my pick, Adam's favorite team, Montreal.
Minnesota is someone I hadn't considered, and they're another kind of under the radar team. God, there are so few teams right now outside of those monsters in the Metro that really seem like really scare me. Even St. Louis, you go, oh, if they could just get a goalie, I'm like,
Even then.
It's going to be hard for them to get what they want because if the goalie really is as good as they want him to be, he's not available. And God, it's St. Louis. Like, how many times can it happen? How many times?
Oh, you wonder why Ken Hitchcock's retiring. It's like, I just had enough of this crap.
Enough.
Leafs in Detroit, just quickly, because they did play back-to-back. The Leafs won 4-0. It looked like they were in different leagues.
Yeah, you think?
Like, it looked like last year in reverse.
Interesting.
Like, Detroit is an AHL team, and Toronto is now the NHL team, versus last year, which was the opposite.
Who stole Peter Mrazek's powers?
I don't know.
What happened there? What happened?
Is it just one bad year? Because you can have those. I mean, Bobrovsky's a perfect example of a guy that, I mean, look at him this year. He is literally carrying the team. And no offense to the players on the team, but you live and die by your goaltending, especially Columbus.
And the Red Wings aren't as good.
Yeah, but Peter Mrazek is not Peter Mrazek.
No, not even close. Like, okay, the Leafs were up 2-0. That is a comebackable game. We've even seen
especially against Toronto.
Especially against Toronto, and especially if you're Detroit, because we've seen you do it before. And then the Leafs go up 3-0 and 4-0 by firing pucks at the net that I think were going wide. That the goalie deflected in.
That Soshnikov goal
was horrifying.
That was
and the JVR goal I could chalk up to bad luck. The Sosh goal, which by the way was brilliantly orchestrated by Soshnikov and Anderson, because if you watch the long cut of that goal, Hyman gets hurt behind the Red Wings bench, and he like very slowly gets off the ice. Soshnikov, knowing he's getting on late, and with the puck heading back to Freddie, bolts for the far boards. Freddie knows this, identifies it real quick, sends him a pass. If Sosh is heading up the ice with speed, no one's going to stop him. No one did. Takes a shot, and although it was a garbage one,
it went in. You miss 100% of the shots you never take, right?
It was like the first Kadri goal on Brian Elliott in the Flames game. Like, it shouldn't have gone in, but everything that happened leading up to that,
yeah,
you're almost, you're glad, like, oh, the hard work of Matthews and Nylander paid off.
So who do you protect in the draft if you're Detroit? Mrazek or Howard, who is injured right now and on LTIR? I
saw someone on Twitter, I don't remember who it was, getting frustrated because they're like, some Wings fans would rather protect Coro than Mrazek. Again, you know what's funny? Is we said definitively, like less than a month ago, goaltending is cheap and it's easy to find and it's plentiful in this league. How many teams have we talked about, like in back-to-back episodes, can't stop a puck? Dallas, we haven't even mentioned them. Buffalo has a shaky situation, although Leonard's, he's pulling himself out of it a little bit. Detroit.
And then you have Ottawa, who has a great goaltender, who's
Mike Condon.
Yeah, and a great goaltender that's not even playing right now because of a family situation. They got three goaltenders that are like
Telephone.
Oh, telephone. Okay, so
you got Andrew Hammond, who is decent.
Answer it with your and then just tell them to hang on 2 seconds. So we are going to go to break here, and when we come back, we've got our guest coming on. Steve, I hope you are ready for our surprise guest because it's not Andrew Berkshire.
Oh,
Andrew's coming, but he's not Andrew. This person.
So wait, there's 3 guests. 2.
Andrew is one. This person is the other. Trust me, you're going to love it. Okay, it's when we come back on the Steve Dangle podcast on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. All right, welcome back to the show. So we've got a guest caller, and we don't normally do this, but I think it's important today because this particular caller has a special connection to this show. Caller, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, it's John Scott.
Are you serious?
This is John Scott.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Why would you surprise me, John Scott? There are so many things I would have loved to prepare. Holy smokes.
Well, he's got his new book out, A Guy Like Me, so we thought, considering that he's doing his press tour, we take advantage and try to talk to him now while we can.
Wow. That is, hello. Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's so cool.
So, John,
you told me it was my wife. This is not my wife at all.
Okay. John, okay. It's All-Star Weekend where you are. You're in Los Angeles right now. And it's kind of got to be a little bit surreal for you because it's been an entire year since what went down. Like, how are you feeling about it now, a year later?
It feels, it's nice. It's good to see the other, side of the table. I'm here as kind of a spectator, a fan, and you can see all the preparations and the people taking care of the guys and stuff. So it's cool, but it's a little bittersweet. It was so fun last year. You kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah, well, and I made a video today, and I mentioned you in it, not knowing you were coming on the show. I wanted like a wrestling thing to happen. Like I want you to be the special guest referee for the All-Star game. So what exactly are you doing there?
I'm just doing some book stuff and trying to stay out of the hockey guys' way. I'm not really doing anything. I was hoping they were going to do the shootout again because I was maybe going to do a surprise appearance with a couple of my friends, maybe help them out with the shootout, but they nixed that this year. So I'm just kind of being a fan, walking around, enjoying the city.
Did they nix that because of you, John?
I think they did. That's another rule they put in. No, it was just a coincidence.
So for the game itself, do you have VIP tickets to sit next to Bill Daly and Gary Bettman?
I was going to go to the game, but I decided to sneak out. I'm leaving Sunday morning. I just kind of want to get away from it and not distract anybody. I did that enough last year, so I'm going to get out of town.
Fair enough. So, John, I gotta say, so I had a little bit more time to prep this.
Yeah, William's looking at me like, any questions? I'm like, no, because I didn't know he was coming.
I wanted to surprise you. I had to. John, I read a good portion of your book last night, and what I found interesting about it, and Steve's hating me right now. What I found interesting about it was, of course, the whole reason last year happened, right? You find out that you're, what is it, 70th or 72nd in All-Star voting, and then it keeps going up and up and up, and you kind of investigate. And all of the incidences that happened after that were pretty unbelievable. Like nothing like this has ever happened in league history. From the trade to you showing up at St. John's to the conversations you had with you called him, quote, Dick from head office, the NHL head office. I want to start from the beginning. Do you know how this whole thing started?
Yeah, the podcast from Puck Daddy and Jeff Merrick. Yeah, I've talked to those guys. It kind of originated there, and it just kind of gained steam after that because people picked it up, and the social media as it is, they kind of went wild with it.
Good, so it's not our fault.
Yeah. Well,
no, you guys are a part of it.
So the way that worked for us is we just, I don't know, we were just randomly talking about the All-Star game and voting, and I don't know, your name might have come up, and we said, let's vote for this guy. We didn't know that Greg and Jeff were doing what they were doing, and I saw Jeff the next day, and I just go, hey, did you hear our John Scott thing on the podcast? And he goes, yeah, wait, your podcast? And we kind of realized that we had the same idea at the same time. And then I looked
funny.
I looked at the voting, and you were like fifth, and I went, oh no, what has happened?
So it is partially your guys' fault.
Maybe, John. But for like the last year, we've been arguing with each other because after everything that happened, and we didn't know that there would be like this sort of.
We never expected this.
No, but we also didn't know there would be like a fairy tale ending, and it seemed to end up working out for you. But there was a while where it really seemed like it wasn't, and I felt horrible.
Yeah, it is funny. No one would have expected this. Like it's crazy how it ended up. Like it would just you'd never even in all the others.
Oh, John, you there?
Oh God! Okay, I'm back again.
Oh, he's back. Okay. All right. Try that again.
Okay, I'm just teasing you.
So sorry, you start picking up from the beginning there. You never would have thought it would go this way.
Yeah, it's just like even in all the other sports, this is nothing's happened like this before. It's just so strange and surreal, and it's just weird. And to think that it happened to me, and then you guys started it, I appreciate that. But it's just a weird thing. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I want to go through it from our perspective a little bit here, John, just because I know that, once you started to hit that top 5, top 3 in voting, you stopped paying attention to what people were saying because, hockey is an old boys club and people were outwardly ripping you for no reason other than the fact that people were voting for you. Like it wasn't your fault. And from our perspective, John, and I told you this when I talked to you on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, I was like, in Toronto, we hated you. We hated you because of what happened with Phil Kessel and David Clarkson. And it wasn't a personal hate. It was just like, you're another guy on another team and we just dislike what happened here. And what was amazing is literally a month after this whole thing started, you became literally our biggest hero in the game. And that is the most incredible part about this is the way you handled it, the way you handled yourself. We saw the guy, John Scott. We saw the guy that we could relate to, the guy who we could have a beer with, the guy that just is a legitimate family guy who just loves hockey the way we do and actually got to live out his dream. And I think, that's been, to me, the most interesting part for this to come out. But there was a time at which you didn't think that this was going to happen and you didn't think you could go through with it. Can you tell us, where you really felt like that was the moment where you're like, you know what, I'm going to pull out of this and I'm just not going to go. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think after I got traded from Montreal, from Arizona to Montreal and then sent down, I was just like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm just like, the whole time I was sitting there thinking, I didn't ask for any of this. Like I didn't start this movement. I haven't done anything. I wasn't supporting it. I wasn't trying to stomp it out. I had literally done nothing. I just been kind of sitting in my apartment, just watching this whole chaos just overtake everything. And I just was like, come on, okay, that's enough. I'm done. And so when I got to St. John's, I literally shut it down. I told everybody, like, I'm done. I'm not going. I'm sick of it. Just end it. Like, let's just move on, and I'll just try to salvage the rest of the season because it got to a point where it was just like chaotic in my life. My phone would not stop blowing up. People were just always trying to contact me. I was just like, this sucks, man. It's not fun. Like, hockey's supposed to be fun. I didn't sign up for this, and I was just ready to walk away at that point.
Now, what was the conversation? And this is what I found most interesting about it. What was you had a conversation with one person that turned you around on this, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was actually with Matthew Schneider, and he called me, he wanted to let me know the situation, and he wanted to know how I was feeling, and I just said, I'm done, I'm packing it in, tell everyone, tell Donald Fear, tell Bettman, tell everyone that it's over. And he just kind of said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Not many guys could do the All-Star game, and there's a lot of people kind of supporting you, and they want you to do this, and the fans wouldn't vote for you if they didn't really like you. So, he talked me off the ledge, which was kind of cool because he's such a nice guy, a legend in the game, and it was nice to hear his perspective, especially at that point. I was just like so heated. I was I didn't want to talk to anybody. So it was cool to get his perspective, and he really just, convinced me to go, which was a good thing.
And forgive me, is he your agent?
No, he works for the NHLPA.
That's right. Okay.
So, and then he just kind of, Steve, it's unbelievable how unprepared you are. It's almost just embarrassing.
You know what's great? If
What
I
exactly do you
prepared
do
all
here?
week, he would have said the same thing because he would be right.
Oh, terrible.
John,
God.
Okay, so let me tell you, just because, we feel some sort of weird connection here. Part of it's guilt because we were part of the start, but part of it's like just complete respect. Most of it's respect, and it is because you stuck to your guns. And I can tell you that, the shows what we were doing at the time, we were, I was crossing my fingers. Steve was feeling guilty and sad. I was the guy going, no, John, do not stop. Keep going, keep going. And I was so glad when you finally got there. And I think the moment for me that it was like, yes, this is what an amazing, crazy story. Was when you scored that first goal and you had the best celebration I think I've ever seen in an All-Star game, dragging that glove on the ice. Can you tell me what that moment felt like for you?
It was very satisfying. It was almost like a big middle finger to everybody who was doubting me and just worried if I was going to be able to keep up and play. I was just like, all right, like shove that one. It was just satisfying. It was a good moment, just to kind of solidify that I could play in this game. Like there's nothing to worry about. I was, right all along. I could keep up with these guys, and it was a cool moment. I'm glad it happened right away, or else I would have been a nervous wreck the whole game. But it was a moment like you can't write it again. It was a cool little moment.
Oh no! That was it was like at that moment it was magic. It was magic.
Yeah.
And what was so cool was the look on your face when it happened, because I think, John, and I forgive me for saying this, but I think it's the look every single one of us would have had if we got to do the same thing. You lived our dream.
Total happiness. I was so happy.
Now, tell me about being lifted up by Brent Burns at the end of the game.
Yeah, again, unexpected. Burnsy's just, the guy's an animal, so you never really know what to expect from him. So that was typical Burnsy, just trying to, I don't know, he's just a good dude. I had no idea it was going to happen, and he just lifted me up, and that was cool. But right away, I just looked at him. I was like, okay, that's enough. Like, I'm not the smallest guy, and we're on skates, so let's just end this quick before it ends terrible. I'm landing on my head, passed out on the ice.
So I'm trying to ask these questions without giving too much of the book away, because there is that particular chapter, like, all the lead up and that sort of thing is amazing, but that particular chapter is incredible. There's so much about the trade that at the time we speculated on, and I don't want to give it all away, but the way that you were jettisoned from Arizona, and I use that
to
term.
Literally an island.
Yeah.
They sent him to an island.
They sent you to a rock in the middle of the ocean. And I find it, when you read the book, it's going to blow your mind, and you can actually pinpoint the moment where I think Arizona's general manager may have lost the job, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, like it was like, and I don't know, John, if we want to talk too much about it, because I don't want to give away some of the surprises, but it seems like that moment really affected his career in a really not so good way.
Yeah, I just think she could have done a completely different job than what he did. I think he kind of caved a little bit and was, I wish he would have stuck up for his players a little bit more. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it was, I didn't care for it. It was a bad situation down in Arizona.
And you had obviously the conversation with the league, which again we're not going to get into because I don't want to wreck it. It's so good, like guys, it's captivating. And what's great about it is that for guys like me who have no attention span, it's an easy read. Like you're right through it. It's great. You're going to love the inner workings of the league. But John, I have to ask about poor defenseless Phil Kessel. How could you pick on poor defenseless little Phil Kessel in a preseason game?
What's the matter?
What's the matter?
No, you can blame that on the coach, because before that whole incident happened, I went to the Leafs bench and I said, the next person you put out next to me is going to get their clock clean. And I said that to the coach. I said it to the whole bench, and I just sat there and stared at the coach. I said, put someone out. They had tough guys in the lineup. I said, okay, whoever you put on the ice against me, we're going, and I'm going to take care of business, old school. And he kind of puts out Phil Kessel and gives me a little grin, and I go, okay. I'm going to call your bluff. Like, let's go. And that's what happened.
That is amazing.
Like,
That's amazing.
Just what I remember of Randy Carlyle thing to do. You know what? I'm going to jeopardize Phil Kessel in a preseason game.
Yeah. And
well, I think he was like, okay, you think you're tough, Scott? Now let's see how funny were you going to play against Kessel. I was like, all right. If it wasn't preseason, I don't think I would have done it. But I was like, who cares? Preseason, let's just go for it.
Wow, that's so great. And of course, losing Clarkson too. I mean, that's the ultimate troll moment. Clarkson jumped on the ice.
Oh my God!
10-game suspension.
I did you guys such a favor with that. Like, you got you know.
Woo! Wow.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember writing at the time, you know, maybe this will be a blessing in disguise because, like, he was coming into the season. They had like all these posters like he's coming and like he was a Dragon Ball Z villain like coming to slay the Boston Bruins.
He's so tough.
Yeah, well, and what needed to happen was, okay, let's maybe chill for a bit. Let's bring him in 10 games into the season. And ironically, his first game was against the Blue Jackets. No, I was very wrong about that. John, you had this. So again, the crazy All-Star experience. But then you had some hockey games to play after that. What was the like kind of, I don't want to say hangover, but like was there like an all-star hangover from the time that experience ended till the end of the season?
Well, it's funny, after the game, I went back to Michigan and had the baby. So I was literally, after that last game, I think I didn't touch the ice again for at least a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, just because there was the AHL All-Star break afterwards, which is another 4 days, which I was a part of. And then I had the babies right at the end of that, and I kind of milked that for everything it was worth because I didn't really want to go back. So I was just like, yeah. They had to call me like a week and a half after the All-Star break. Like, are you coming back? What's the deal?
How was it playing in St. John's?
And I was like, okay. And I was in St. John. They're like, okay, yeah, well, I didn't want to go on the road. So I was like, well, let's just wait because they had a big road trip. And I was like, okay, let's wait till you come home and I'll come back. But yeah. And that was fine. Like I like playing hockey. It was good. I was glad the All-Star stuff was over, and we could kind of focus on hockey a little bit. And it was fun. I was getting good minutes down in St. John's, and you know, it was nice to kind of play 22 minutes a game and be the guy they go to and score some goals and get some assists and play hockey.
That had to be kind of fun. Now, when the season ends, and this has been like one of the, again, like I said, the craziest events. And, John, the game so many times gets in the way of itself and its own magic. There is a magic to hockey that we've all fallen in love with, but the rules and the bureaucracy and all of that tend to get in the way of, these magical moments that were almost robbed of us, right? You going to the All-Star game being one of them. When you were done at the end of the season, did you know, okay, that's it, I'm done?
I had a good idea. I wanted to, if I wanted to play, there was only a few teams I would have played for. And so once those teams kind of said no thanks, I knew I was done. There was like offers to go play in other places, but I didn't really want to get into that whole thing again with getting sent down and so all the circus that would have been again this year. But yeah, I had a good idea I was going to be done.
So you're obviously an author now. And there's a movie getting made.
And a movie producer.
And a legend. I don't know if you can put that on a resume, but
legend. Can that go on my business card?
It should. Do it. John Scott, legend. But I remember reading I think it was your Players Tribune article, and you talked about, I assume your plans changed from when you made this, but at some point your hockey career would end, and I don't know, maybe you would work somewhere in Ontario, in engineering or whatever. What's the plan for the future? Is that still your plan?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I wanted to take this year off and kind of just stay at home and do that whole thing and just relax. But now I don't know. I'd like to do maybe some TVs, work with the team if possible. It's just I honestly don't know. I did some TV during the free agent frenzy there, and that was fun. And it's just something I think I'd enjoy. So if that's an opportunity, I'd love to kind of go that route or maybe tag on with the team. I think I'm a smart enough guy where I can be an asset somewhere. But honestly, I have no idea.
What kind of role do you think you would want?
I would love to be a GM, to tell you the truth. I don't want to be a scout who kind of just drives around in Hobart towns and just looks at kids. I I think I have a good management personality, but that's kind of tough to get into unless you're a superstar like Yzerman or Sakic or those guys. But who knows? I don't know. I haven't really put any feelers out, but I'd like to maybe try that.
Wait a second. Fill me in here. Where did you go to school again?
Michigan Tech.
Yeah, see, I think that would still be. I would be up on that list. I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm in. I'm interested. Wait, John, would you want to start AHL? Would you want to go right to the NHL? Like, does it matter to you?
No, not at all. I think if I can get my foot in somewhere, I think I would do a good job. Even if it's college, I would be interested in going back to my old school and, in there. I'd like to stay in hockey. It's a fun sport. I enjoy it. I think I got a lot more to give, and whatever field that is, I kind of like to pursue it a little bit.
God.
Yeah. Well, and how old are you?
34 now.
Oh man,
dude, you got ridiculous amount of time. Like if you were 45, you'd still probably be like what, the youngest GM?
Yeah.
Oh no, the one in Arizona is like.
Except for Chayka.
Oh, he's like 14,
younger than us.
Yeah.
Well, and he has you to thank for that job, though. So,
Yeah, really.
I know, right? He should throw me a bone at least somehow.
He should. John, we don't want to take up much more of your time because we know you're busy, and I know you're on like this huge book tour and that sort of thing, and we just want to say partially that we're sorry, but partially that we're not sorry, and that you have become a hero, not only of a personal hero of ours, but one of our show, our listeners, and I think true hockey fans everywhere. When we talk about a guy who truly loves the game and a truly magic moment in the NHL, even though the NHL doesn't want to acknowledge it, this was one of those. And thank you for being the guy that you are on it, if that makes sense.
That's very kind. Thank you. I was just being myself. So thank you.
I got one more question, and I'd be upset with myself.
Steve, you're blowing it right now.
One more question. One. Just
You
one.
show up unprepared.
I know.
And right after our exit, you're asking another question.
I put up the finger. You knew. You knew. He didn't. But look, one of the biggest reasons I felt bad was I didn't know the time of your life you were in. I didn't even know your wife was pregnant, and your kids were coming right around that time. How are the kids?
They're good. We got the twins here in LA. They're doing well. Yeah, they were born, I think, 3 days after the All-Star game.
Wow.
So they were like, literally about to pop out. But they're good. Our family's doing well. We're enjoying life. So that's all that matters.
Busy.
Great. Good.
I hear twins are like, you have single kids, and then my friend, he's like, I had a couple kids. He's like, and then I had twins. And that was a game changer for him. Like it seemed like he's like, I wasn't ready for that after 2 kids.
Well, yeah, we went from 2 to 4 really quick, but they're honestly the easiest kids. We couldn't ask for better kids. They're so easy.
Well, good parents, I think. Maybe.
No.
John, we hope that the next time that you're in Toronto that you can actually come in and hang out with us in the studio. We'll buy you a coffee or a beer, whatever you want, and hang out and talk a little bit more just about the game. It's been such a pleasure having you on. Definitely buy John's new book, A Guy Like Me. It's such a great book. It's so great. Steve, don't worry, I have a copy for you.
Oh,
we'll be
good.
giving it to you.
Sweet. Oh, I can't wait to prepare for the interview I already did.
Yeah.
So, John, thank you so much for your time.
All right, guys. It was good talking to you.
Thanks, John.
Take care.
See ya. Bye.
So, how about that?
I thought it was SL.
Oh my god!
I thought my wife was coming
How
on.
about that?
How about that?
Cash John Scott. How about that? Cash made the All-Star game. How about that? Holy!
Did we get you?
Yes.
That was probably my favorite moment ever.
Hello.
How were you?
I don't know what I thought. Which one of you idiots booked that?
We did it together.
Well, Adam just gave me the woman's email.
Yeah, so
Then
Jesse
we
booked
emailed
it,
her.
but I was the one, and I talked to John on Tuesday.
Yeah, she was on BT.
Yeah.
You suck. Like Jesus, Adam.
No, it was funny.
You gotta tell me these things.
It was Kipper. It was Kipper and John. On
And
the
then
same
Obama,
episode.
and then Trump.
Yeah. So Kipper and John.
a Martian.
And so I was like,
Benjamin Franklin,
King
which was cool
Tut.
because he was dead. So he interviewed the guy who knew how to bring
That's
people
right.
back to life.
Anyway,
Jesus.
we've been on it since last week, and Jesse and I have just been so excited. That's why we moved today's episode. We told Steve, full disclosure, that we had an all-staff meeting yesterday.
We didn't have no
We didn't have a meeting yesterday. It was just so we could accommodate John, and we could get this interview on.
That's part of the reason I didn't think of any good questions. My mind was racing. I'm like, now wait a sec. How did they rearrange John? No, they lied. Those dirty lies. They lied.
We lied. We lied a lot. But we did it for you.
You know what? Cash me outside. How about that?
That's it for us on the Steve Dangle podcast on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. You can actually catch the rest of the show online. We're going to talk a little bit about the Montreal Canadiens with
we're just going to continue. We're just going to continue after that.
We are with a guy that you can be prepared for, Andrew Berkshire, who's a great writer. He does a ton of stuff for Sportsnet.ca. And we're going to find out if the Montreal Canadiens are as dominant as you would think they are.
How as dominant are they been now?
Podcast is brought to you by Panago Pizza. It's as good as you think it is. That's not the sell line. It's what's on the inside that counts.
Adam, you're blowing it.
How are you feeling, really? How are you feeling about that?
You fuck.
Was it a good one? Was it a good one?
That was good. As when you were out of the studio just then for a sec, Jesse's like, "Oh, I want to watch back your reaction." I'm like, "Me too." And then he goes, "Yeah, you like barely asked any questions." And then I thought about it, and I'm like, "Man, we had John Scott in the show, and I barely asked any questions."
Can you put him through?
Shit.
Andrew Berkshire, how are you, sir?
I'm sorry, it's John Scott, actually.
Yeah. Are you aware that you're following up John Scott?
I am. Yeah, Adam told me.
All right, there, blogger boy. Tell us some numbers and shit.
From your
follow that
mom's
up.
basement.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was messed up. That was messed up. How are you though?
I'm pretty good, Steve. How you doing? You're a little bit surprised?
I'm frazzled, Andrew. I'm very frazzled.
You know, Andrew, you'll hear it when you hear the show back. But John calls Steve out a couple.
You made
times.
fun of me twice.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I deserved it. That was abadi. I didn't know what to say.
Andrew, we got to talk about the Montreal Canadiens because I want to know if the Montreal Canadiens are as good as we think they are, or is there a reputation from the beginning of the season that's carried over and maybe they've petered out a little bit?
Well, and actually expanding on that, I want to know how much responsibility you're going to take when people listen to our PK episode and I have to eat shit because the Habs just won the cup. How much responsibility for that are you going to take?
They're not winning any cup.
Whoa! Okay. So what do you
isolate that?
Let's hear this, Andrew. So what makes you believe that?
There's a few reasons, but the biggest reason is just that like their top pairing is not that good. You know, like
what is that, by the way? That's Weber and Emelin?
Weber and Emelin, yeah, and like not all of it's on Weber, but he's not the greatest top guy ever. He's good offensively. His power play work is great, but he's not producing much at even strength. He's still, and everybody hates this, but he's still a negative Corsi player.
We don't hate this, by the way.
Driver.
We don't hate this. We're okay with hearing that. We're not going to attack you for it.
Well, Montrealers hate hearing this, but and Emelin is just not the right player for him, and they don't seem to trust Nathan Beaulieu to try him out there again. So I don't know. They just don't have what it takes, I think, to go all the way. I mean, they're a good team. They should probably make it out of the first round, maybe even the second round, but I don't see them having the depth necessary to go all the way to the final. And like, no matter what, you're going to have to beat Washington or Pittsburgh to get there. I just don't see them as capable of doing that.
Yeah, I don't see them beating
them. They just don't have the matchups.
Well, it's interesting though, because like I look at the Habs and I look at their moves sometimes, and I want to criticize Marc Bergevin. And then I look at the standings, and I think similarly to you, where they'll obviously make the playoffs. They should win the first round, may win the second, but after you win the second round, there's only 8 wins left.
Yeah.
You can Carey Price your way to 8 wins, I think.
You can, but the problem is that they need Carey Price to get those first 8 wins, right? So, like, they are by far and away the best team in their division, but most of that is because of Carey Price. And even though he's struggled in the last 2 months, like, everybody's been on him about how, like, oh, this isn't the same Carey Price, and, He's not playing up to his own standard. And then you look in, and I did an article for Sportsnet on like the scoring chances that he was facing. And like last year, when the Canadians were really struggling, and Mike Condon and Ben Scrimmins were sucking, they were allowing about 18 scoring chances a game. Right now, they're up to 27.
Whoa!
So like scoring chances are up across the league this year anyway, but they're just getting filled in constantly, and they're really dangerous, like backdoor passes and deflections, and it's just crazy. Like if you go in and watch all the goals that Carey Price has let in over this bad stretch, there's maybe 2 goals in the entire 2 months where you're like, he probably should have had that. He's Carey Price. The rest of it, you're like, wow, that's just a laser top shelf or a deflection or a double deflection or a backdoor pass that he had no chance on. And he hasn't been, like, most times he's going to get some of those, but he's been tired or whatever from the schedule in the World Cup. But it hasn't all been on him. A lot of it's been on the team.
How many? Okay, so you said scoring chances are up per team. Is the average like scoring chances per game 20? Is it 21? Like what's the differential between the average scoring chances per team this year versus last year? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know it's up about 15%.
15%. So it wouldn't be...
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be
It's
plus
really
9. Like they went from 18 to 27 scoring chances against per game.
Now, I know you don't believe in luck when it comes to numbers, I guess. Is that just luck?
Which the extra scoring chances against?
Yeah, is that just luck, or is that a trend, do you think?
Well, I mean, some of it can be. Losing guys to injury always hurts, and the Canadians have lost some guys like Alex Galchenyuk for a long period of time. As much as people don't think Alex Galchenyuk is great defensively, he's still your number one matchup guy. And when teams don't have to match up against him, they can run roughshod over your other guys. I think also Thomas Plekanec is not the player that he used to be, and that really hurts them. Like his struggles this season have been almost epic in scale. Compared to the last few seasons. So that's been tough for them. And the other thing is, people don't want to hear it, but Shea Weber is not as good defensively as PK Subban at even strength or on the penalty kill, especially on the penalty kill. The Canadians' PK is far and away the worst in the league. Like, it's not even close.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
In terms of giving up goals or giving up scoring chances?
Giving up scoring chances. Carey Price has kept them... I think they're about 79%, which is like bottom 10, but not worse. But in terms of giving up shot attempts and scoring chances and high danger scoring chances, they are the worst in the league.
In your opinion, is this team, because we talked about this, is this team using Al Montoya enough?
I think so. I mean, like in a normal season, it would probably be enough. I think it's just that the World Cup before the season kind of tired Price out, and after being off all last season, like I'm sure that he worked really hard in the summer to get his conditioning right, but he still missed almost a calendar year, and it's hard to go from nothing to straight away being a 60 game a season guy plus 10 games before the season in the World Cup. So I think that's what's the problem. And it's not necessarily that Montoya needs to play more. It's just that they haven't factored in the World Cup into the way that they've deployed their goaltenders. So maybe like 1 or 2 games so far, they should have played Montoya different, but overall, not the worst handling there. I know they've gotten a lot of criticism for the way they've handled the goalies, like when they allowed Montoya in for the 10 straight goals against the Columbus Blue Jackets. But I found a lot of that was just kind of nuts because, first of all, that was the first half of a back-to-back where Price was playing the next night. And second of all, he's your backup. Why would you put in your starter when you're getting filled in and you have to play the next night?
Yeah, it was a little merciless on Therrien's part, but I mean, that it is what it is.
He almost didn't have a choice, right?
Yeah. What, Andrew?
Montoya knew, I think.
So where do you see this team going? Because obviously they got a 10-point lead in a conference that is not. I think the spread in the Eastern Conference is 20 points total, so it ain't much. Yeah. But they are 10 points ahead, and clearly in the lead to take the division, which they will probably do, barring some crazy collapse.
Which has happened.
What do you see? What do you see for this team in the playoffs? Do you see a first round? Do you see a second round exit? Do you see them surprising at all, or is it like is it one of those teams that they just do extremely well in the regular season, but are not able to sustain it in the playoffs?
Vancouver.
I can't see them going out in the first round just because Price has started to regain his form, and they still have a lot of good players. Galchenyuk should be back. Brendan Gallagher should be back. So they're a good enough team that's pretty unlikely. I mean, anything can happen, but it doesn't make sense, I guess. But how far they're going to go, I think depends on what they do at the deadline. Because this year and next year, these are Marc Bergevin's all-in years. It's the last 2 years Carey Price is going to be on an affordable contract. He has no choice in what he wants to do here. This is probably Andrei Markov's last year in the NHL. So I think he owes it to him as a career-long, he's the second highest scoring defenseman in Canadians history now.
No way. Really?
Andrei Markov?
Points.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's a guy who missed 3 years of his prime due to injuries.
Wow. Yeah. He's up there, like Doug Harvey and Larry Armstrong and all the Larry Robinson, all the amazing defensemen they've had who scored a lot of points. He's up. That's crazy to me.
Now, okay, I'm glad you brought up the deadline because when I was talking about Bergevin and trying to see what he's doing, I actually don't understand just based on reports. So one I saw that got a lot of heat a few weeks ago was they want a puck-moving defenseman. Which
I wonder why they need that.
Exactly, and that's why I got so much heat. You got rid of Subban, you idiot. So then they do this trade and they get Nestorov yesterday,
which seems like a good deal, by the way.
Yeah, and we'll ask you about that. But then immediately after that trade is made, I want to say it was Eric Engels talk about how I wonder if the Habs will now dangle Nathan Beaulieu out there for some forward help. And I'm like, what? So I don't understand exactly what this team is trying to bolster.
Well, I don't know if they totally understand it either, and that's kind of the problem. Nathan Beaulieu has been dangled in trade rumors for the better part of a year, I'm pretty sure.
He's the Habs Kadri.
Yeah, I mean, not as good as Kadri, but Beaulieu's a good player. He's really struggled in the first half of the season, but he's really started to figure it out the last 10 games or so. So I don't know if they're showcasing him or what, but he's been playing second most ice time on the team after Shea Weber, a lot of games, and playing really well. But he's probably right now their best left-handed defenseman, but they don't seem to trust him very much, especially defensively. So if they don't trust him, it does make sense to move on as long as they can get something for him. They do need forward help. It sounds crazy, but they need somebody at center. Philippe Deneau has broken out, and that's helped them, but he's also punched above his weight most of the season, so I don't think they can depend on him to continue to do that. I mean, everybody's freaking out about Philippe Deneau in here, but I believe he's on pace for 45 points, and he's played most of the season with Radulov and Pacioretty. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on that. He looks good, but
yeah,
I mean, when you're getting power play time with those guys, you're going to produce points either way. I mean, he has scored some highlight reel goals, but I think he's probably a third liner going forward. And unfortunately, Thomas Plekanec is about the same, but producing less offense. And then there's Galchenyuk as your first-line center, who they don't trust defensively. So it's a bit of a mess up the middle.
You've seen, all the numbers league-wide and everything, and we were talking last show about. I think there's a perception that young right-handed defensemen are the highest sought-after commodity in the league and in the highest demand. I personally don't know if that's true anymore. Because I think it's a center. I think it's a top two-line center. Because you said the Habs need help up the middle. Well, how the hell do you get that? What do you think it is? Are centers more valuable to a team's success, or maybe a certain type of defenseman?
I think they're probably about equal in terms of importance, but the difference is that people say that right-handed defenseman is the hottest commodity because you just can't get centers. Like, nobody trades them if they can avoid it. Like, the only time that I can remember a high-end center being traded outside of Tyler Seguin where a team was just, off their rocker completely was Ryan Johansson. And I think most people would say that Nashville got the best of that deal, even though Seth Jones has, had a pretty good season this year. So you just don't see centers of that caliber moving ever. So, right-handed defensemen are good, but you can still find teams that don't value the defensemen that they have that are pretty good. I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. Steve Yzerman, one of the best GMs in the league. He let Barberio go for nothing. The Canadians have turned him into a regular who's extremely good. They just gave up Nikita Nesterov, who has a similar profile to Mark Barberio.
Yeah, and I got to ask,
probably going to end up being really good.
I have to ask you about that. Nikita Nesterov was one of the. I've seen 3 Tampa Bay Lightning games this year. 1 against the Leafs and 2 in Tampa. And each time the team I wanted to win lost, by the way. So the Leafs lost and then Tampa lost too. Nesterov was one of the highlights on a bad Tampa team to me. But is he a top 4 guy?
He has potential to be. Right now, he's not. He's still got some deficiencies in his game. He's not a great defender, but in terms of when the puck is on his stick, he's really good. I did some scouting work on him last night. I had to write an article in both languages for him today. So I'm kind of I've looked into Nesterov so much in the last 16 hours. I'm I don't know anything about this guy anymore. It's just all confusion of numbers. But he looks to be pretty good to me. I think he's going to be a guy who can, possibly gust up to a number 4 defenseman if you're lucky. But right now he looks like a 5'6" who just, dominates in that role. Was it a fair trade, do you think? No. The Tampa Bay Lightning got an AHL goon and a 6th-round pick for a guy who is a solid contributor at the NHL level. That's a terrible trade for them.
Why do you think they did it?
I think it's just the amount of contracts that they have. He's a restricted free agent. They have no money left. They've got to pay their guys. They were kind of in a corner.
Maybe rather than lose him or someone else in the expansion draft, you at least get something.
You get a 6th. You get something.
Yeah, and I think the guys that they're probably going to lose in the expansion draft is either Alex Killorn or Nemesnikov, right? So no matter what, the Lightning are in a terrible position for the expansion draft, which it kind of sucks that you have too many good players, but you're having a terrible season anyway.
Yeah.
This has got to be a nightmare for Steve Yzerman, because if you look at what he accomplished in the last summer, he did everything right. He got all his guys signed to reasonable deals. This season, they should have been top of the Eastern Conference. And
top contender.
Yeah, and didn't have to trade Drouin either.
Yeah, they did everything right. He was, steely-eyed, hard-nosed, everything perfect, and they're just terrible. I feel so bad for him.
Well, and not just didn't have to trade Drouin, got Jonathan Drouin to be Jonathan Drouin.
Yeah.
He's good.
He's very good.
Yeah, he's bought into the team and everything, and it seems like all the friction with John Cooper seems to, between him and Drouin and him and Stamkos, seems to be water under the bridge. Stamkos came back, and he was fantastic earlier in the season. It looked like the best since he broke his leg, and then he goes out again. Man, just a string of bad luck for them.
Now, there's a couple things I want to get to, but since we're on Tampa, there's a team who, at the end of the season, if things don't work out for them, if they miss the playoffs, they'll get the benefit of the doubt for sure, right?
I would say so.
Yeah, they did everything right. People got hurt and all that.
Tons of man games, lost injury.
Florida, on the other hand, I can't possibly see that happening. And a couple shows ago, we heard who was it that was out for the rest of the season? Barkov and Huberdeau might be out for the rest of the season. I don't think they'll get the same benefit of the doubt. And we said they're cooked. Do they look that way?
I mean, they're definitely done for this year. But again, like Tampa did, they kind of did everything right in the offseason too, right? They got all their young guys signed on to long-term deals for probably below market value. But, maybe it's one of those situations where from the outside, we looked at the Florida Panthers and thought, okay, they were really good last year. This year they're going to contend. But you look at how young that team is, maybe that's not what they thought. And, they fired Gerard Gallant when they were above 500. And to be fair, they haven't been that bad under Rowe either. They just haven't made any progress.
Yeah, but no one cares.
Right, no one cares. Everybody wants to blame everything on firing Gallant. But I wonder if they just looked at last year and thought, we're not actually that good. The playoff series was a bit of an eye-opener. Maybe they're looking ahead to next year or 2 years from now as their competitive window. And this year just was more important to get everybody on board for their vision than it was to get into the playoffs.
It's a wacky little situation.
Sure is.
You're probably wondering what took so long, but the Toronto Maple Leafs.
How do they honestly look to you?
Yeah.
They're good, man. I told you they were going to have a good second half.
You said, yeah, you did. And I mean, they just came off a ridiculous road winning streak, which was crazy, or a ridiculous road point streak.
They hadn't lost a regulation road game. They hadn't lost a road game in regulation since November 30th.
Wow.
It's a long
Pretty
time.
impressive, I suppose.
Yeah, a little bit. Almost 2 months.
Can I tell you guys a little fun fact?
You can tell us all of them.
Love him.
Since November 15th, are the top team in the Atlantic.
Wait,
What?
in terms of record?
In terms of record, yeah.
That makes sense.
I didn't even know that. That's a month into the season.
Yes, sir.
So that's for the last 2 months, essentially, they've been the top team in the Atlantic.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I love it.
How far do you think they could go in the playoffs? What's their ceiling?
I think they could go to the second round. I mean, it really depends on what they decide to do down the stretch. Like if they get rid of Roman Polak, that would be great for them. That could really help them out. They don't even need to add anybody.
So it's funny you say that. So I haven't been looking at a lot of numbers. I've just been hashtag watching the games, and Hunwick and Polak have grown on me ever so slightly, like just a little bit, and I've been giving them the credit of, well, okay, they look terrible at 5-on-5, but the Leafs have a good PK, and I got to give these guys the credit of they're on the PK. What do the numbers say?
They're terrible, man. They're really
Hunwick pairing.
Hunwick is okay. Like he's a decent third pairing guy.
I don't
and
believe you.
He's better without Polak, but Polak is just terrible. He can't win the puck. Like he's a big guy who can't win puck battles because he's too slow. He's basically in the situation that Douglas Murray was at the end of his career, where if he could actually catch guys, he could wreck them, but he can't, so he doesn't. So there's really no use to him. The only thing that he can do is shot block, and even then, the utility of shot blocking is something that I want to look into at some point because I don't think it's that important. Most shots that you do block are crappy shots anyway, and oftentimes you block it, and then the other team gets it back anyway. So what you might have done is just change the direction on a second shot right away the goaltender can't adjust to. So I don't think they're that big of a difference maker. I think, maybe they might take a percentage or two hit on the PK if they lose Polak, but what are they going to gain at 5-on-5? It would be huge.
What would be the thing is that, from what we've heard, they're sticking to the plan. And the plan is still to potentially offset or to get rid of guys on expiring deals that they, can acquire assets for. So Polak right now, value-wise, and the way he's being written about in this town, his value's at an all-time high.
I can't imagine it's gone down significantly from last year.
Because he hasn't played significantly different, right?
Well, I don't know. It depends because, how many teams watch San Jose in the playoffs, right? Because that's going to be the big determining factor for Polak because anybody who did will say, well, they acquired him to be a difference maker and he was god-awful.
Yes, I did hear a lot of that, but memories are short. Memories are short in sports, man, and the Leafs are resurging, and he was a great leader for the team, and he's killing penalties, and he's blocking shots, he's big and tough, and blah. I can't imagine he's worth significantly less than last year.
But you might be able to get a mid-round pick for him for sure. I think the main question for the Maple Leafs is they don't have to sell all the guys that they did last year, right? Like they have a lot less work to do, so you might actually see better deals come out of it.
And so we talked about Tampa and the sticky situation there. And is there a team in the league better prepared or in a better position for the expansion draft than the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I mean, probably not, just because all their players that are good are on like entry-level deals, and that helps. But I feel like, you know what Toronto missed out on that they really could have gamed the system?
Travis Konechny.
No. Specifically, over the last couple of years when they've been rebuilding, after they got their first year where they had all those good draft picks and they've got all those kids coming that are really good, they should have sold all their guys for like absolutely nothing. You know, like just bottom out the value of trade deadline picks. So do that for a couple seasons where everyone's like, wow, you know, like you're undercutting everyone, so everybody else has to sell for less. Then when the Maple Leafs are actually ready to buy, trade deadline picks or trade deadline players are worth a lot less.
So you want the Maple Leafs to bring down the entire market.
Exactly. They should have gamed the entire system.
That is evil.
Most of the time, Andrew, they have gamed the entire system, but that is an incredible game.
I don't know if you've looked at their injured reserve. I think they're doing plenty of that. Oh my God. It's funny. So I tweeted the Leafs depth chart, how it's evolved since they signed McElhinney and Griffith, and I just updated it. And a bunch of people tweeted me like, hey, where's Lupul? And I'm like, come on. Come on. Does not count.
Right.
Does not count.
You need to have a Robidas Island on the depth chart.
You know what?
You do.
I do. I got to add that. Man, it's a big island. It's getting big. Well, and then there's players who like are definitely on the island, but they're not. How is Corrado not on that island? How is Josh Levo not on that island? They're both there just floating, bobbing in the waves, waiting to get traded.
Yeah.
And Corrado's just like out there without a rubber dinghy or anything, like treading water in the middle of the ocean.
Do Corrado and Levo get you the centerman that you need? Because to me, I mean, as much as people love Freddie the Goat, I don't know that he's the guy.
Well, and Ben Smith, who Babcock loves, looks. I guess the injury is more serious than they anticipated. So, yeah, could they get the depth center they want?
Do you think they could?
Well, I mean, you're only looking for a fourth line center. It depends what you want. Like, in terms of most of the guys like that who get traded at the deadline, you're probably better off with Gauthier, right? Like, at least you're developing a guy who can grow into that role. It might not be the best for this season, but the playoff experience would be worth it long term.
Right.
So you're best not to give up assets for that. If you're going to give up big assets like a Josh Levo or something like that, or even say a Leipzig, then you want at least a third line center who can pot some goals, right?
Right.
Yeah, hands off Leipzig, by the way. I don't like that suggestion. I don't like that suggestion. You show your face. So Adam and Jesse have been ripping me recently with a little bit of revisionist history, I think, saying that I hated the Freddie Anderson contract in the summer. Which
we're going to listen back.
It made me nervous. That was all.
It should.
Well, and you were one of the biggest critics of it. What do the numbers say so far?
Well, let's be careful with how we word everything, because what I said was it was a risky contract. And 1 year isn't going to change that, right?
Right.
Because it's a long-term contract, and I'm not necessarily sure that Freddie Anderson is the goaltender that the Maple Leafs will need over the next 5 years, right? So
it's only
when I looked into Freddie Anderson, I actually just did this before I was on the podcast. I was curious. I saw a couple people tweeting about how great he's been. In terms of high danger save percentage, he's only been average. So most of Anderson's success has been the team around him improving, not necessarily him being great. And this is the goaltender that he is, which is what I said in my Sportsnet piece after the trade was he's an average 50 game to 55 game starter for a good team, and that's it. You can't expect him to be more than that, and maybe that's all the Maple Leafs need, but he's not going to be a game-breaking, series-stealing guy
But we can wait for Carey Price.
Yeah, that's only 2 years, man.
2 years.
Yeah. No, but it's true. See, the thing is that I think, especially for this year, we only needed average goaltending. That's what we needed. We needed league average goaltending. And that's, if we can keep continuing to get a guy who can be in between 15th and maybe 10th rated, and I don't know if that's worth $5 million, that's debatable, but if we can get that guy consistently in that range, then it seems like it's a solid move. I don't know if it's a great, spectacular move, but it seems like the Leafs, because Freddie Anderson's been able to be average.
At least consistently,
and above
too.
average, yeah.
Like, you have a pretty decent idea of what you're getting out of Freddie every night,
Yes.
too, which has been pretty
So you can build a
refreshing.
team around that.
He's not completely fantastic. He's not getting completely fantastic money.
So you're saying he's better than James Reimer?
I am saying he's better than James Reimer, who was mismanaged, had tons of injuries,
And he
had
might
his
also
confidence assassinated by the coach.
Might also be better than James Reimer.
Steve, how much would you pay for a Freddie Anderson figurine?
$1,000. 1,000.
Did you see the one, Andrew, that Steve tweeted us last weekend? The $80 James Reimer figurine?
No, did he make it up?
No, it was a piece of tape on it at the store. So I'm assuming Steve
At the
didn't put
flea
it there.
market, sir. At the Pickering flea market.
Wow,
Are you sure it wasn't like a podcast listener making a joke?
might have been.
I took a picture of it in person.
No, I know.
In real
Maybe
fucking
the person
life.
at the flea market is a podcast listener and going, "Whoa, he bought it for 60. I bet I could get 80 for mine."
You know what? How about I take mine down to the flea market and make a cool $20? Oh, wait, I would never do that because it's priceless. Priceless.
I guarantee some podcast listener saw Steve walk in this flea market and quickly ran over to a James Reimer figure that was like 8 cents and put on a couple extra zeros.
It's not 8 cents, you son of a bitch. How dare you?
Andrew Berkshire, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you
Debatable.
so much for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Talk to you soon.
All right, take
Shit.
care, man. 8 cents. That was beautiful. Now, before we do the press conference here,
We don't even have pennies anymore, Andrew, you idiot. Thought you were supposed to be a numbers guy.
I want to play for you a Mike Francesa clip.
Okay.
So Mike got upset with a listener.
No way!
Yeah.
How come?
And I love this about Mike because Mike's Mike, man. I'm falling in love with Mike every time we do this a little bit more.
That is for sure. That's who he is doing his laundry.
Yeah.
That's who he is at dinner.
Yes.
That's who he is at the bank.
You can't
That's
fake
who he
Mike
is in a
Francesa.
cab. No.
You are Mike.
He's that all the time.
Yes.
Skip Bayless is not like that at a family gathering.
Oh, can you imagine?
Aunt Phyllis is undisputably the greatest aunt in the history of this family. Like, that is not him.
I would not put this turkey in the top 100 turkeys of all time.
Yeah, can you call the chef? These sausage rolls don't even crack the top 20 sausage rolls I've ever had in my life. And you know it. No, he's probably just like, thank you that this was a nice dinner.
Jesse and I listened to this yesterday and we sort of howled because within 60 seconds in this call, you're going to hear a caller say, Ichiro for the Baseball Hall of Fame, and you're going to hear Mike go, no way. Which I know, because that's what I was like, Jesse, Ichiro's had 3,000 hits. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? But Mike...
Not many people have had 3,000 hits. Like Pete Rose, Ichiro, Bernie Mac in that movie. Mm-hmm. And that's about it.
He did not end up with 3,000 hits. He's Mr. 299 at the end. Spoiler alert, he didn't end up with 3,000
Thank you for ruining that Bernie Mac movie.
Why didn't they give him the 3,000 hit? Like, that wouldn't it change the
That was
plot
the
of
whole
the movie?
premise of the movie.
I know,
Then
but
he had to
comes
go back and get the extra 4 hits, and then he didn't get the last one because he like accepted his life as Mr. 299.
Stupid. And I love Bernie Mac. I know. Listen, I know all Bernie Mac movies. Most Bernie Mac movies are pretty stupid, but give him the 3,000.
No, it was a nice movie.
No moral lessons when it comes to baseball. Numbers matter. Round numbers matter.
But he needed, our protagonist needed to be humbled.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, in order to,
Love Bernie.
just
Bernie.
love life.
Thank you.
One of the best stand-up comedians ever. But okay, so back to Mike for a second.
Yes.
60 seconds not even 60 seconds. 120 seconds. He goes from there's no way in hell Ichiro makes it to he's a lock to the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Goes from no way in hell to absolutely he's a
I
lock.
need to see the hurricane.
Fred in East Brunswick. What's up, Fred?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? How are you today?
What's happening?
I got two quick things. One on the Hall of Fame and one on the Knicks, if I may. And I know how you always say if the guy's going to get in the Hall of Fame, it's going to be like no doubt as soon as you hear his name. So if I said Ichiro, are you no doubt? First ballot?
In what sport?
Baseball.
In what league? For Major League Baseball?
Major League Baseball.
He does not. He does not belong in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
Really? Huh. That's interesting. Okay.
Well, what would he have done to get there?
Well, I mean,
the ball 3,000 times.
Overall, he's got what? 4,500 hits, something like that. But
Do we count the International League hits for some other guy who played in the International League?
I'm not saying you count that towards the statistic. I'm saying.
Well, people have done that to try and give him awards. I can't give. To me, he hasn't been a Hall of Famer in the major leagues.
Okay.
I don't think he's played enough.
Okay. Because
How many games has he played in American baseball?
Pause it. How far in are we?
We are a minute in.
So how many seconds do we have remaining?
We have, it's an exactly 2-minute clip, so we've got 57 seconds left.
He's got 57 seconds, and right now we're at a no way!
He hasn't played enough.
He hasn't played enough.
What sport?
What sport would Ichiro get it? And then I love that they're
NASCAR.
He takes the
NASCAR, Mike.
international
Golf! I liked when he beat Mike Weir by one stroke at the Masters.
That's how I can tell you're Canadian, because you actually mentioned the Canadian golfer.
I know. Why
The
did
one-
you go with Mike Weir?
Growing up with the one Canadian golfer we had.
I gave him a free ride on the simulator ride at the zoo one time. He thought it's because I knew who he was, and I did, but I accidentally just put the wrong ride on, so I let him on
When you
twice.
say you give anyone a free ride, just make sure you know that you're in company that understands what that is, because that can be taken in many different ways.
I thought you meant something completely different when you said you gave Mike Weir a free ride.
So Mike
around.
Weir and I banged at the zoo. Like, what did you think I meant?
I
How
gave
dare
Mike
all
Weir
of
a
you.
free ride with
He
animals
was with
watching.
his family. We were about to do it, and I'm like, Mike, put the green jacket on. And he's like, anything for you. And then we just made passionate love all day and night long.
Love you.
In front of paying zoo customers.
Weembler. No.
No.
Dangler with Weembler. No.
Oh, Adam.
All right.
Marlander Thews. That was
Deep dish Threetza.
Let's return to Mike, who has yet to discover.
Weird.
that-
Sorry.
Mike Francesa, who has yet to discover that
the one you
yes,
haven't banged.
Ichiro.
The Mike you haven't taken behind the animal shelter.
Not the pythons.
No, the tigers are watching.
What pavilion you want to go
Well, so here's the thing. He says in the clip that you just heard. Well, if you count the International League and MLB, 4,500 hits. Yeah, I've seen them combine that to try to give him awards.
The International League,
As
by
in,
the way.
yeah, and the International League. By the way, the International League players consistently win the World Baseball Classic, like the World Cup.
That's because Americans basically just don't go, isn't it?
Well,
It's a little true.
Little
Americans
of that.
don't really care
Little of
about
that.
it, but also Americans have never won it. They've never medaled, I don't think.
They should
I
at
feel
least
like
medal.
the rest of the world treats it like the Olympics, and the Americans treat
Yes.
it like the Spengler.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
it's
yes.
true. Sort of true. All right, so let's keep going.
2,500. What's his batting average in the major leagues for the American baseball?
313.
313.
Okay, so let's start that
Baseball.
again. How many games has he played? He asks, and his producer comes in.
Okay.
I don't think he's played enough.
Okay. Because I had
How many games has he played in American baseball? 2,500. What's his batting average in the major leagues for the American baseball?
313.
313.
3,000 hits.
3,000 hits. He's got 3,000 American hits.
Yeah, 3,000.
You know what? Maybe. If he's got 3,000 American hits now, he's going to get in.
Yeah. Okay.
He's going to get. He's going to get in automatically. Then if he has 3,000 hits, I don't think he.
How many seconds?
That was 20 seconds exactly. 27. 3,000. He's played 2,500. 3,000 hits. 313 batting average, and Mike's like, it's not even that good. 313. That is not easy to do.
I'm going to give him props, though, because not everyone would catch themselves in their own ridiculousness.
Yeah.
He tried. 313, well, that's not that good. Which it is. And But then you drop the 2,500 games played. Then you drop the 3,000 hits.
500 stolen bases.
All right.
An MVP.
Yeah.
A rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Let's
keep going. Hold on.
He had 3,000 American hits. I mean, he's obviously a singles hitter. So 313 is okay. It's not unbelievable. You want your singles hitters to have better batting average than that.
See, now he's going back.
He plays good defense. If he has 3,000 hits, he's going to get in automatically. No one with 3,000 hits has ever been left out, so he will get it. I didn't realize he had 3,000 hits. I didn't think he had played 2,500 games either. I thought he had played closer to like 1,800 or 2,000. I didn't think he had played 2,500 games. Played more than I thought.
Here's a question.
I was pretty sure Mike didn't know.
Who did Mike think Ichiro actually was? I'm serious.
Yeah.
I don't think he was thinking of the right guy.
Yeah.
Remember that whole thing when the Leafs signed Jeff Finger?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, did they actually mean to sign Kurt Sauer?
Yeah.
Who's Kurt Sauer in this little conversation? What baseball player, what definitely Japanese baseball player who's not Ichiro was Mike thinking of? Because that...
Hideki Matsui?
That was the first name I thought of. Was Hideki Matsui.
Because New York outfielder for the longest
first thing,
time.
Ichiro played in New York. He was a Yankee for a while.
Maybe.
It was 3 years he was a Yankee.
3 years he was a Yankee. Like, come on.
Which, by the way, 3 years. Well, 3 years as a Yankee. This guy's not getting in. What
He's no
are you
Jeter.
talking about? He definitely. I think he confused him with somebody else.
Anyway, there's no one like Mike.
I didn't think he played 2,500 games.
What sport?
Hey, he's a singles hitter. Expecting this Gretzky guy. I mean, number one playmaker. He's got like 2,000 assists. It's good, but you want a goal scorer.
That's right. Yeah, right.
How many goals has he scored?
Let me see. Oh, okay, it was close to 900. All right, he's a lock for the Hall of Fame. But I don't.
Crazy. Let's do the press conference.
Who's this Michael Jordan?
That's why we love Mike Francesa.
Question of the week
He's the only Mike you'll ever get like that.
goes out to Jeff Cassidy, who writes.
Wow, real name.
Yeah.
You got a real name, not like
Boingo. It's
point
because
two.
this one is from Twitter and not Reddit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and when we go to the Reddit questions, we'll get Ongo Bongo point 2.
Please somebody make that.
Fart
the Reddit
Goku
name.
69.
Fart Goku 69.
No, but it wouldn't be so straightforward. It would be like fart cheese Goku.
With a 2.
Yeah.
Kamehame Fart 69.
All right.
Super Saiyan Fart 420.
Jeff Cassidy
Asks.
wants to know.
Jeff Cassidy.
At what point in the don't walk signal countdown is it a dick move to still walk?
Oh. By the way, these used to be hockey questions.
I don't know those days. Someone else was here for those questions.
I'll give you an answer. How fast can you run, Rook?
I say 4 because I can get across in 4.
I was going to say 3.
I can get across.
I still go.
If there's
And by the way,
someone
I'm a
turning
dick.
left.
I go in 1. I
don't care.
just run. Pick it up. Pick up
But
the
you'll
pace.
accept being a dick to that driver who's trying to turn
No,
left?
you know when you're a dick? When it changes and people are trying to make a left-hand turn on an advanced green and you're the asshole walking through the intersection still because you couldn't pick up your ass. Listen, I have no problem. You can go at any time. Just get across that intersection before that advanced green starts. Otherwise, I want to run you over.
I don't care where you are at 4. I don't care where you are at 3. I do care where you are at 0. And the answer better be on the sidewalk there, Jimmy.
Or at least far enough so that you can turn left.
100. Oh yeah, I'll graze the ankle of your pants.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think people who dilly dally at advanced lefts should be like imprisoned for 3 years minimum.
You know what?
It's one of the things that drives me the most nuts in this world.
You know those people that when you're driving downtown, the worst place I ever saw this. It was just everywhere. Was D.C. Washington D.C. The driving is insanity. Or I don't know why D.C. But I was in, I think is it Jamestown or wherever the old section of D.C. is, and It's people who can't, when they clearly see that they can't pass the intersection, even though the light's green, traffic is backed up to such that it's backed up to the last crosswalk. So you, if you cross the intersection, will be stuck in the middle of the intersection. When you see that and you still drive and you're stuck in the middle of the intersection, therefore blocking the next light who's trying to go across the intersection, you're an a-hole. And that should be punishable by a $10,000 fine because you're an a-hole. A fine for being an a-hole, and there's not a person in this world who would have a problem with it.
Would you, or have you driven in New York? Like Manhattan?
Never driven in New York. I've been in cabs in New York, and it's wild. Yeah. Absolutely wild.
They're good.
They're good. That's the thing is
drivers in New York.
They don't have a choice. Like the restaurants have to be good because the competition is so fierce. Yeah. Their drivers have to be good because the competition is so fierce and it's intense. So
LA has horrible traffic.
Yes.
New York has horrible traffic. And I've been to both. LA has terrible drivers. New York has the best drivers on the planet.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it other than you need to go there. You just need to go. But I actually had locals like smirking at me and my wife because like...
Were you driving in New York?
No, but I had them smirking at us because we like waited for lights to cross. Like they smirked. And like I jaywalked out of peer pressure because I'm like, I don't want them to think I'm some idiot.
New Yorkers don't wait.
No, they don't wait at all. They will roll over a hood like they're in a cop movie. They don't care. They don't care.
I wonder what pedestrian injuries are like there, like what their numbers are. I bet they're pretty low.
According to movies, Al Pacino just kind of bangs on your hood and goes, I'm walking here.
You moved my microphone.
Jesse, next
Fun
question.
fact.
Oh.
I read the other day. There's currently 13,000 taxis in New York roaming the streets.
13,000.
If you took 3,000 Uber pools where you have an average of 3 people in your car, it could replace every taxi. 3,000. And you get all those 13,000. You get 10,000 cars off of the streets of New York.
Yeah, but you have
take all those jobs.
You have to allow Uber to operate.
I'm going to grab onto your handle and then ride it down friggin' Queen Street or wherever it was. I'm talking about that video of the psycho cab driver who was protesting Uber.
No,
they're not all good.
But that's the future. Is 10,000 cars off of the road for 3,000 shared vehicles.
Yes, it is.
Why would you say no to that?
Because jobs are at stake.
Because I'm one of 10,000 cab drivers who doesn't want to lose their job.
There's no Uber in Vancouver, and I'm not sure that there's Uber in New York City. Is there? Can we look that up?
Sure.
No, there's got to be.
There has to be.
Yeah.
There's got to be.
But they're like the cab unions in New York are pretty strong. Like they're a political force, from what I understand. In Vancouver, they have straight up outlawed it. Like you can't get Uber. It's ridiculous.
There is Uber in New York.
There is. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Damn.
Vancouver seems like the kind of place that could really use Uber. It's kind of big.
Yes.
What the hell?
Listen, man, it's Vancouver. It's a silly place.
Tis
a silly place.
I quite like Vancouver.
So, okay, Chris. What's the
next question?
Next question.
This one's from Blue Aster. You know this is a Reddit question.
Blue Aster what?
Just Blue
69
Aster.
or 420?
How's Aster spelled?
Aster.
Blue Aster.
Okay, Blue Aster.
Yes. My boyfriend and I started dating last summer. We both enjoy hockey, but he happens to be an Oilers fan.
Sorry.
His redeeming quality is that his favorite player is Cujo. He also plays hockey as a goalie. His birthday is coming up. Any tips for hockey gift ideas?
Buy him Cujo's mask.
Game used.
By the way, I got him socks. He got him socks and he wears them.
I got him socks.
Okay, so you got to get him a gift this year and you got to make up for the shitty one you got him last time. Yeah. So,
socks are a stocking stuffer at best.
Yeah. No, it's the stocking. It's just the stocking.
It's just the stocking. You're right. Well, go Cujo on it for sure. I mean, I don't know what he's into. If he's into dolls, then definitely head down to the Pickering Flea Market and buy yourself a Cujo doll. Although, if James Reimer's $80, how much would a Cujo one be?
Not as much.
Okay.
I saw them at the flea market.
Okay. It would be cool, and I don't know how crazy you want to get for his birthday, but it'd be cool if you could find I don't know if they make replica masks of Cujo, like if you could find a Cujo
mask painting's pretty expensive.
No,
I've looked
like
into
you can find
it.
like a miniature or something. Like, is there a miniature thing that you could do?
Oh, there's the old McDonald's ones. I think they had a Cujo Edmonton one.
So buy him a Happy Meal.
Buy him an old Happy. No, we can do better than this, guys.
I was gonna say the simplest thing is just get him tickets to a game. If you want to go inexpensive, go Marlies. If you want to go expensive, go Leafs.
Oh, they're in Toronto.
Seems like that, yeah. I would get them Leafs Oilers tickets if you can.
Yeah, there you go.
I was gonna say get a Bobby Nix burger. Go to an Oilers game in Edmonton and get him a Bobby Nix burger and say happy birthday. But the problem
is that special sauce. Bobby came up with that himself.
You bet.
No,
he told us chef-ass chef, not for me.
None of that.
You try
bacon.
this.
You take that pancetta bacon, you stuff it.
Get it out. Now, here's the problem, though. The Leafs don't play the Oilers again this season. Mm-hmm. So you're buying fictitious tickets. It's just an IOU because that ticket doesn't go on sale till next year. Unless they meet in the Stanley Cup final. In which case, remortgage your house and get tickets to that. What about some kind of, I'm thinking like a picture signed if it's available, but some kind of picture of Cujo making an enormous save with the Oilers. And I'm picturing one of the many he made on the Dallas Stars in the playoffs.
So there's one that was Hockey Card of the Year in 1998, and I have that hockey card.
I know that one. Yeah.
No, of him robbing, I think it's Joe Nieuwendyk, where he reached back.
Yeah. That was silly.
You know what? I don't know where my hockey cards are now, but I'm sure you could find that card. Any card from the 90s is super cheep.
Is that one of the 3D McDonald's ones?
No, not one of the 3D McDonald's ones, but I'm sure you could find that card. And if you get it put on a little plaque and it says Cujo on it,
presentation's not hard.
Yeah, super easy, not expensive. You go to one of those trophy stores where they get trophies for anyone. You put the hockey card on it, they'll mount it. It's like $20 and have Cujo and hockey card of the year and that sort of thing.
You can also DIY. It's not that hard. Get a hard plastic sleeve.
Yes.
That is not part of the card. And then you could maybe hot glue gun it in the frame, and you're not hurting the card because it's in the sleeve. And if you hurt the sleeve, who cares? Those are $1 anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
I like it.
Something like that.
Next question, Jesse?
Yeah, there's lots of Cujo stuff. Message us further if you need advice on where to go.
Steve T. 159 asks, how many first-round picks could you trade for Austin Matthews?
There's not enough. There's not. You know what? Do we have a precedent for something like that? Because this question gets asked all the time.
The St. Louis Rams.
St. Louis Rams. Jared Goff. I think here's the thing. Yeah, you can get a bunch of first round picks.
Okay.
But you look at the Oilers with their first round picks. Not only do you have to be bad, but you have to have your first round pick go on a year. You have to win the lottery or be in the top 3 on a deep year when you got a generational talent.
Yep.
And although no one gave Austin Matthews a chance or nobody thought he would be this good at the time, they thought he would be good. But they didn't. There were a lot of people saying, I don't know, Patrick Laine might be better. Patrick Laine is a great player. He's not generational. They're saying, hey, Austin Matthews. They didn't say, they never really used the word generational. Connor McDavid, generational. Sidney Crosby, generational. I think the way that Matthews plays makes him one of the generational players.
Close.
Is he Connor McDavid? No, but I think he's in the conversation eventually as one of the top 2-3 players in the league.
Here's how we figure this out. Jesse, pick a number between 1 and 30.
24.
24. Go to NHL.com. Who's 24th in the standings right now? We're picking a team at total random.
Okay.
Picking a team at total random.
24th, the Winnipeg Jets.
Great. Go to HockeyDB. Do you know how to look up a team's draft history?
Yeah.
Okay, so go to HockeyDB. We're going to look at the last however many first-round picks the Jets have had. We're going to keep going until we have value for Austin Matthews.
Patrick Laine.
Patrick Laine makes it really interesting because it's Patrick Laine.
Kyle Connor.
There's a good player.
Nikolai Ehlers.
Ehlers.
Let's take Laine out of it because that makes it less fun. Okay, so
we can't do that.
No, we can't do that.
That's not how it works.
okay, fine. So now we're at Laine, Kyle Connor, and Nikolai Ehlers for Austin Matthews. Is that worth it?
You still don't have
If
another
you
one.
I think we're getting close.
If you go back 2 picks and you pick up Jakob Trouba,
What about Mark Scheifele? He's in there somewhere too.
right after that,
there's your number one center.
Yeah,
But now
you
it's
need to-
not worth it for the Jets at all.
If the Jets said in 2011, say Matthews played in 2010, and in that year they said we'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first-round picks for Matthews, I take that.
But
I wouldn't.
okay, they have Matthews, so they're not going to get the second overall pick. Is kind of what I'm thinking. Let's look at
Where are
who's
you
in a
drafting?
playoff spot right
That's true.
now. Go okay.
It's all about
the
where you're
Flyers.
Okay.
The Flyers. Let's look at the Flyers draft history.
By the way, Winnipeg's 24th. Weird.
Well, everyone's so close.
Yeah.
Unless you're Colorado or Arizona. Arizona on a 3-game win streak, I think.
Oh, they're back in it.
They're distancing themselves from Colorado, who, by the way, Jesse had one of the more stealth moves I've heard in fantasy hockey this season. Because you had Semyon Varlamov,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, man, he's out for the season. What are you going to do? He's like, dropped him a long time ago, picked up Mike Condon.
Oh, good pickup.
Condon was just sitting there. Picked
Very
him up
good.
like early December. Let's go to the Phillies draft picks. So German Rubstov last year.
I don't know enough about him.
Ivan Provorov.
There's a good player. Now, is Rubtsov and Provorov enough for Austin Matthews?
No.
I'm going to go with no. Let's keep going.
We have to go back to 2011 to get another player who's of any
They haven't
note.
had a first-round pick?
They have, but you got Scott Launton.
No. We're doing all the first-round
All of
picks,
them?
man.
Okay, so-
This is, yeah, okay.
Travis Sanheim.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so we're
Is
talking
2014.
Rubtsov, who I don't know enough about. Provorov, who looks like he might be a pretty good defenseman. Scott Laughton, who looks like he's going to be like a depth forward. Sanheim, who looks like a big, tough meanie.
Samuel Morin.
Or maybe he's the big, tough meanie. What's Sanheim's height? I feel like they drafted huge like a couple years in a row. So, okay, let's say you trade 4 first-round picks.
6'4".
Right. So let's say you trade 4 first-round picks for Austin Matthews. You might luck out
And get
and get what Jesse said for the Jets.
Yeah.
Which
might
is
get-
fair
Which
deal.
is
That's pretty nice.
But
Yeah.
the team has to be bad. The team has to be bad. If you're drafting high, the team you traded your great player to has to be bad.
If you get Phillies, folks, you're boned.
I wouldn't do
If Philly gave you 5,
It's magic beans.
if Philly gave you 5 first-round draft picks,
No, I
then you
wouldn't
get
do it.
Sean Couturier.
You're
still
still,
would-
not Austin
And then you throw in
Matthews, man.
Provorov and
No.
a bunch of guys.
I still, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And the thing is, too, when you get those picks, they're not those players you named.
Yep.
They're just picks.
Yep.
And they could end up anywhere on the board.
They're magic
See, that's the
beans.
thing. Is like, let's not overrate first round picks. I would say a high end prospect is far more valuable than a first round pick. And of course, anybody would say that. When you have a guy like Austin Matthews, it's not just like it's more than an asset. It's a feeling. It's a confidence. There's a thing about him that's special.
Yes.
And not every player, not every draft even has that.
Draft. So in doing these trade trees, I've looked up and down. I've looked at so many trades, and it's not just the Leafs too. I've followed other teams. You know what I think the dumbest trades in hockey are? It's not buying, because at least there's. Why do you buy? Why would you trade a first round pick for some kind of veteran like Antoine Vermette?
Because you're trying to get better now.
Because you're trying to get better right the F now. I get the purpose. The dumbest trades are at the draft when you trade like a 5th round pick this year for a 5th round pick next year because there's a guy in the 5th round you just can't live without. You got to have him now. Almost always, it seems like the team getting the pick now, the team who wants that someone in the 5th round that we can't miss, they almost always fuck up.
Was it last? It was the year before when the Leafs traded. They had those
They
2
just kept
seconds.
trading down.
They kept going down, kept taking those picks and gathering them.
Now, sometimes you lose out on a player like Konechny, but give it a couple years. We'll see. We'll see what they got out of a Bracco, out of a Dermott, out of a Zerkals.
I know. Listen,
there was one.
it hurt me to lose Konechny at the time, but I understand that Dermott and Bracco, and is it Zerkals that came out of that trade too?
Yep.
That's pretty freaking great return.
There
right?
was one.
Even now, it's not bad.
And it didn't really work out. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. It was something like the Oilers really wanted someone in the 7th round, I guess. So they made a deal with the Leafs where the Leafs gave them a 7th rounder for that draft. And the Oilers gave the Leafs a 6th rounder for like the next draft or 2 drafts from now. Well, the Oilers finished like last or second last. And the Leafs pick, was where it was in the 7th round. So they draft their guy. I think it was Kellen Jones. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who the Leafs got either. It was Dave Brohl. The point was where that 7th ended up, that draft, and where the Oilers pick ended up in the next draft was, I think, about 50 picks apart.
Yeah.
Because you had to have someone in the 7th. In the 7th. You had to. I see too many deals like that. And the Leafs fell victim to that.
You know what it
a
is?
couple
It's the
times.
rounds thing in people's heads. It's rounds. It's they don't look at them as pick 157th. They look at it as 3rd round or 4th round pick.
Yeah.
Well, and
that
2
isn't-
years from now, you don't know where you're going to end up. And the Oilers thought they would be better, and the answer was they finished last. When they made that trade, they're like, we're going to be so good. We're going to be near the top of the league. It's going to be like a less than 10 pick difference. Nope. 50. 50. And again, it's in the late round, so maybe it's not that huge of a risk.
Or maybe.
Or maybe it is.
A final question.
Okay.
This one's for Adam Wilde
Uh-oh.
from.
This is about a Montreal Canadiens fan thing. I'm going to be...
It's from
I'm so
Jay Blake. What was the #1 article on Sportsnet.ca yesterday?
You know what? I believe it was the Chris Versteeg trade tree that features one Shane Gostisbehere and how Shane Gostisbehere became a Philadelphia Flyer. Hint, though, and this is for Leaf fans, it's not the Leafs' fault.
No.
But he does factor in. And then the Leafs
This
did
is
not
why
have a
it's
chance
a
at
trade
Gostisbehere.
tree. Yes, this is why it's a trade tree.
Yeah.
Well, they did have
At the
a chance.
Gostisbehere pick.
Everyone had, and this is what I
Yes,
wrote
I
in the
know.
thing, everyone had a shot to draft Shane Gostisbehere. No one knew he'd be this good, including the Flyers, who before Gostisbehere picked Scott Laughton and Anthony Stolarz, the goalie, Stolarz, whatever. But yes, Flyers fans who frown on that deal because Versteeg wasn't all that good. The Flyers gave the Leafs a 1st and a 3rd. Didn't exactly pan out for the Leafs, but it wasn't disastrous. But the Flyers managed to flip Versteeg to the Panthers. And this is where I defend the Flyers. The Flyers give up a 1st and a 3rd for Versteeg to the Leafs.
That is crazy.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
The Leafs, of course, screwed that up.
Yes. But then you get use out of Versteeg for the rest of that regular season and the playoff run. Even though he wasn't great, you still got use out of him. The following summer, they trade him to the Panthers for a 2nd and a 3rd. So you upgrade your lineup heading into the playoffs. They end up winning around that year, and all you did was you downgraded your 1st to a 2nd. That's justifiable. That's definitely justifiable. And here's why it was extra excellent for the Flyers. That 2nd round pick, they ended up flipping that the next year too. They got Pavel Kabina. He didn't do anything for them in the playoffs. The 3rd they held on to, 78th overall, Shane Gostisbehere. Shane Gostisbehere. Because of Chris Versteeg. It's unbelievable. That's been the most fun part of these trade trees. Like, I can't believe people were like dying to read that. I'm like, it's Chris Versteeg. It's a Chris Versteeg trade. I didn't even tease, like in any of the tweets or anything, the Shane Gostisbehere part.
It is sort of funny that he got traded so early. And he was scoring at like a 0.6 points per game pace.
I think the Leafs thought they would be better, and they weren't. and I don't think Versteeg was happy, and they're like, well, we can get value for him now. Let's just get rid of him. Let's just get rid of him. Hey, a first and a third.
Hey, not bad. If only they knew how to draft at that point.
I got into that too. I think that was
There's lots
all.
there. There's lots.
There's so many others I want to do, and I'd want to share with you, but I'll spoil them all.
The more I read these trade trees, though, the more I realize the trades are most of the time not good.
Yeah,
Well, they're good for someone.
Yeah, they're good for someone.
Yes.
But not the Leafs.
I think I can definitively say, hold on to your picks.
Yeah.
Hold on to your picks.
Because you can't, unless you've got terrible scouting, then that's your fault. Yeah. You can't really lose if you keep doing that.
Hold on to your damn picks.
Your
unless it's a slam. If you're like in the 7th, 8th seed, or what used to be the 7th, 8th seed, and you're making big buys, you're nuts. You're nuts. If you're Chicago and you're like just coming off winning, and you're confident you can win again,
do it.
Then all right, go nuts. But if you're the Leafs, just trying to hang on like they were for so many years, what are you doing? You're nuts. I still say those in-draft trades are the dumbest, though. Those are the dumbest. You know what? The 5th round is stacked this year, so we'll give you a 5th next year and a 6th. Well, all you did was you just gave away a 6th. That's all you did. If you've been planning effectively, missing out on a 5th 1 year is not a huge deal. Also, if that player was so good, why didn't you pick them in the 4th? Anyway, I'm sure I'll write about that too. I might package some.
Remember when John Scott was on today's show?
Yo, John Scott was on.
What the fuck?
Yo, here's the deal. We can't give this away. Like, we can't say this is the John Scott episode.
Yeah, no,
right?
It has to be titled John Scott.
No,
No,
really?
it does. You have to put in the description that John Scott is on the up. People have to be able to find it and
I
search
think
it.
we have. What if I give you 2 titles and 2 descriptions, and one like you'll whenever it's posted. Let's say it's posted at 7:00. Then we change the description at like 10 or something.
We're not at 10 in a couple days.
No, but dude, we get a lot of listens like right away. Like if Jesse posted at
give it a
7,
just give it a couple days. Don't give away the surprise, guys.
But
like I'm saying 5,000 people will have heard this thing by midnight.
All you have to do is tweet, listen, there's a surprise guest on this episode. You have to listen for it.
And no, but as soon as you send out the tweet, someone just goes to the SoundCloud, skips ahead, and then tweets you back.
Then
and then whoever reads that tweet will just see it, and it's not a surprise anymore.
I'll give a clue. We had a guest on taller than Jesse, and that narrows it down to like 20 people
John Scott's
worldwide.
not taller than me.
I love that.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
6'8".
I'm 6'9".
That's bullshit.
Watch me win this argument.
I will not lose.
President Blake.
I wonder if you were to ask Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless their height, if they would tell you the truth.
Probably not.
They would come up with, I am purple foot orange. Like they would.
I am a Reddit name.
According to Jake and Smallwood 420.
Who, by the way, Jake and Smallwood is killing it.
Is he?
Oh, wow.
Killing it.
We should call
I keep
him
getting
in 5
tweeted
years.
his stats. We got to check in with him.
Yeah.
We do.
He's like,
we should do that. Like during the summer, check in with Jake.
Yo,
we got to check in when he's Jake and
checking with
Bigwood.
Jaken. I missed it. Sorry.
He said
gone
Jake
now.
and Bigwood.
Okay, we got to check on him when he's Jake and Bigwood.
The best part of this episode is when I found out that Steve took Mike Weir behind the rabbit cage at the zoo.
The rabbit cage, Jesse. It's one of the largest zoos in the world, and you picked rabbit. Giraffes and lions and shit, and you picked a rabbit.
For a ride, Jesse.
Where's your putter, Mike?
I don't know. It's been missing since I won the Masters.
Something hole in one.
You gonna bring out the 3-wood?
All right, we'll see you next week. Bye. Enjoy the
Balls.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness.